Does Tesla have almost an unfair advantage over legacy manufacturers? I know it sounds pretty weird because I mean they have all the money, they have all of the experience and the trust of the public and know-how and all of that stuff. And yet the way the cars are being sold, Tesla definitely has a big advantage. And the reason I'm even mentioning this is because this week a bill in Colorado had failed to allow all electric car makers to sell direct. Now, it doesn't affect Tesla because they already can, but overall, does this indicate the fact that people do want the dealerships to have the dealerships? And how are the legacy manufacturers going to sell the electric cars? Isn't that slowing things down? So let me tell you about what happened in Colorado, and I'll tell you how it kind of projects overall. Man, I'm allergic to this story. Obviously, how is it projects overall to us, the consumers who want to buy electric cars? So all of this is coming up next.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric!
Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, that's perfectly fine. I'm not mad. All you have to do is click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so as you know, Tesla had to fight a few states, and they're still fighting them here in the United States to be able to have their showrooms where they can sell the cars, because a lot of states had a law where they were protecting the dealerships, which are essentially small businesses, from having the automakers selling cars direct, because if the automakers do that, then the dealerships will probably go out of business. Now, that was all good. That was actually consumer protection law until Tesla came in and saying, well, we don't want that. We want to sell direct to consumers, which does sound better in some ways. Unfortunately, the service has suffered. As you guys know, that's one of my biggest problems with Tesla. But let's not get my blood pressure going up again. It's right before the weekend, so I wanna have a nice mellow weekend. So let's not talk about that. But there are arguments both ways. Now, the reason Tesla was able to kind of win in most of the states is because there's no dealerships that they already have that they would damage by selling direct. Where the legacy manufacturers are kind of stuck with that, right? Because if you're Chevy or BMW or whatever, if you decide to, if you're allowed to sell direct, then all these dealerships are going to go out of business, and people will lose their jobs, and companies will go belly up. And obviously, we want to protect the small businesses like dealerships. We still do need them to buy our cars, and most people do. Now, I'm talking, but Tesla and companies like NIO with their showrooms, and Byton now unveiled one of those as well. They are in a better position here. Now, let's talk about the bill in Colorado. So the bill it's a pretty Democratic controlled state. They're a pretty liberal state, right? They're one of the first states to legalize marijuana. They have the highest rebate for the electric car purchases, which is $5,000, compared it to $2,500 here in California. So they're pretty up and up on all of that stuff, pretty progressive. But their legislature declined to make this bill into the law. Now, the bill was written a little bit weird, though, I have to say. Let me tell you what it was and what probably the right way of going about it, if there is one. Before that, I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out the all-electric Byton M-Byte that's coming, scheduled for 2020, next year, here in the United States and Europe, starting at only $45,000. Check out that shared experience 48-inch screen, one of 5 screens in that car. Over 50,000 reservations made in the world. You should get on that bandwagon as well, because it doesn't cost anything to make a reservation, about 60 seconds really. So go to byton.com to reserve yours. Okay, so let's talk about the bill in Colorado. Basically, they propose that any auto manufacturer that only makes electric cars, which essentially completely excludes legacy manufacturers, right? It's only about Tesla, Rivian, NIO, Byton, and so forth. The new companies have decided to just go all electric. So only for them to be able to sell direct to consumers. Now, the reason that the bill was defeated, because they basically said, well, now it's an unfair competition for the legacy manufacturers who have to use dealers, and then now they have to compete with companies that like Tesla and NIO, Byton, and so forth. Once they come to the United States, the last two, against like this against company that doesn't, or legacy manufacturers that don't have a choice to get rid of those dealerships. And it's true. It's definitely true. I kind of feel like everybody needs to be equal. The reason Tesla is able to sell their cars there is because of a loophole. But in generally, just like I said, they're able to sell it. They don't have. There is no argument against protecting Tesla dealerships because they don't exist. Um, Now, by the way, Colorado is still considering a law that I think there's a couple of other states have that if you're, as we call it, gas holes, right? If people park in a charging station spot, they would be fined, I think, $350 or whatever, or towed and stuff like that. So that's good. They're still doing that. But I the solution for this is really complicated because as you know, dealerships don't want to sell electric cars. Most of them don't because they make most of their money on maintaining cars, and gas cars need a lot of maintenance. Electric cars, need no maintenance, or at least very little maintenance, and it's a dilemma. This is something that that's gonna have to be resolved because it's definitely conflict of interest. It's definitely catch 22, and it's either the manufacturers will have to come up with something, or the lawmakers will just have to pull a trigger and make one of the sides really, really, really unhappy. So either force everybody to have a dealership or nobody to have a dealership. And if they want to have it, that's fine. This is really a tough choice. Now, if you ask me, I do have a solution. Here's what I think. I think the dealerships need to, the dealers need to evolve. They need to understand, okay, maybe changing spark plugs is something that's outgoing. That's something that's just not going to be happening in the future. But then automakers need to offer them a new way how they can make money, and it's all about digital services, right? Our cars are basically iPads on wheels, so you can sell them all kinds of digital services, from streaming music, streaming video, all kinds of services that they can use because as cars become autonomous, there will be so many activities that people can do. Streaming movies, I mean, just so many things. Those are the services that the dealership can provide, be resellers for, and also provide customer support and technical support. Yes, you won't be changing spark plugs, but you'll have a genius bar, or whatever you want to call it, where people will bring in their cars when they'll need a software update, or something will go wrong, or fixing some of the bugs. That's the future of providing service to customers. And I think that's where everything should be going. It does look like it's going that way, but just not fast enough. And I don't think dealerships are really kind of behind it. And even auto manufacturers, or not even the legacy manufacturers, are really providing that option to them. So that's kind of a shame. Let me know what you guys think. I'm kind of curious to know, what do you think the solution for this problem is? We're going to have to solve it one of these days. The sooner the better, of course. By the way, check out our VIP list. I'm getting some really good feedback. Don't get left out from some of the stories that we just don't have time to cover on this channel. Every week we deliver an exclusive story and some of the exclusive content and offers in that newsletter. So all you have to do is just go to e4electric.com/VIP and subscribe. It's obviously free. Also, patreon.com/e4electric if you want to support my independent channel and watch these shows live. And of course, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at e4electric with some of the behind the scenes footage and some of the Instagram stories that I do daily. All right, have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. And of course, remember to stay charged.